Welcome to the Truth About Real Estate Investing Show. My name is Rowan Cito, and do you love what you do? I mean, career-wise? For me, work does feel like work sometimes, but other times I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. Today I get the podcast with my real estate client, Gillian Irving, and because we are working and helping her maximize her return, because we're listing a couple of her investment properties, I hope it's legal, but we had lunch together, we caught up, and then we recorded this podcast where we got to talk about several of my favorite subjects. We talk about hacking fitness and exercise, investing in real estate, specifically student rentals, the methodical journey to success, stock hacking, investing in cryptocurrency, and starting a charity. Gillian Irving is a full-time successful entrepreneur, stock hacker, real estate investor, cryptocurrency investor, and mom of 4 kids. Needless to say, I'm proud to have played a small part in Gillian's massive success. If you too want help in starting a journey similar to Gillian's, feel free to check out my free video where we explain how to invest in real estate for how I invest in real estate for my kids. Go to www.investortraining.ca. Once you register and get access to the video, you'll be invited to our free training event. It's 90 minutes long. We talk about the number one investment strategy in real estate, which is legal basement apartments, which is by far the most popular investment strategy in today's market. FYI, Gillian has been my client and friend since 2013. She's a pretty awesome person. Please enjoy the show. Gillian, what's keeping you busy these days?
What is keeping me busy these days? I would have to say the primary thing on my to-do list in the day is I'm investing in cryptocurrency, so I watch that. I look at my interactive broker account probably more than I should from your amazing stock hacking course. I'm running. I'm got 4 kids at home now, so there's lots, but not the same things that were keeping me busy a year ago. So, my business is sold. So it's been a big year for me. A lot of changes.
Okay, lots of places to start. Let's start with the running, because I'm sure my reaction when I saw you, because I haven't seen you since last summer,
Right.
So it's been 10 months or so. And is my reaction common? Because my comment to you was, are you like your high school weight again?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you know what? It's funny. At the beginning of the pandemic, I, like everyone, I hunkered down at home and I was drinking wine at night. And I'm like, it's like a weekend. Every night's a weekend. And I thought, you know what? I'm not liking my habits right now. And so first thing I did was I decided that I would just quit all booze during the pandemic. So I did that. And then I did this program called 75 Hard. And I kind of changed I worked out twice a day. I started running in earnest and eating well. And so I've really kind of reignited this passion for running that I had when I was a lot younger. And I just love it. Like, it's really, I think, saved my mental health through the pandemic, is just to lace up my running shoes and and run. So I've been doing that a lot too.
Now, you had a name for the style of running you're doing, because we were talking about over lunch how it's different.
Yeah.
But it's good.
It's good. It is good. So when I first started running, because I'm kind of an A-type personality, as you know, my go-to style has always been like faster, longer, harder.
Yeah, it's got to hurt.
Yeah, and so that's what I did as a kind of newish, like back to running, for the first time in several years. And I pushed it really, really, really hard, and I got like these niggly injuries, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to run for as long as I want to if I hurt myself. So I started digging into some research, and I found a really great program called the Mafatone Method, it's all based on heart rate maximum aerobic function, so MAF method. And basically I have to run really, really, really slowly, which is hard for me because I like to go fast. And even sometimes walkers go past me. But the whole... anyway, so I pull my baseball cap down over my head. But basically the point of this is that you run slowly to eventually run faster, that you build a really, really strong aerobic base, so that eventually when you run your marathons or whatever, that it's not that you're running quickly, but you run that you never slow down, so that your capacity is really, really strong. But it takes persistence, that you have to check your ego at the door in order to do this. And then eventually right before your races, you can add in, you can sprinkle in some, speed some speed work or all of that, but really it's to slow down, to go fast, which is a really good exercise for someone like me, because it's contrary to pretty much every fiber in my body, which is to do less to get more. It's an interesting theory.
You know, as you're explaining it, I was just thinking and realizing what an analogy it is for like almost everything you've done.
Yeah. Sometimes
Right?
you got to slow down.
Slow down,
To
be
speed up.
open-minded, and research.
And research.
Right.
And research. And that that really great gains come from slow and methodical and consistent effort. And that's what this is that you have to actually not just run slowly a little bit, you have to run slowly a lot in a week. So you have to get a lot of mileage and a lot of hours. And so indeed, it's kind of a metaphor for everything, which is like consistent, persistent, and enduring habits. And you build slowly rather than go fast out of the gate. And that the slowness will actually, your results will accelerate over time by following this. So it's been a really good lesson for me, sort of humbling as well.
And willingness to be outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually I'm outside of my comfort zone in terms of my ego around it, but it's so easy. It's like the pace itself is actually so within your comfort zone. Like that's the funny. It's easy. It's easy. There's no push to it. It's just slow and steady. It's great.
You'll have to give me an update when you when you test,
I will.
right? Because you're running a marathon,
I will in the fall.
right?
We'll see how that goes.
When was the last time you ran a marathon?
Well, I've never run a marathon before, so this will be my first one.
That's quite an achievement.
But we'll see. I haven't done it yet, so.
Dude, I haven't even walked that distance before, so. I honestly don't think in my life have I walked that distance in a single day.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long that would take. Okay, so like I said, that's actually amazing because it's an analogy for so much.
Yeah, it is.
So let's go back to when we met, which is almost 8 years. Holy cow!
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, 8 years for sure. It feels like it was such a lifetime ago, because I now feel like, you know, I have so much real estate experience under my belt, but you were my first introduction to the real estate investing world at all. I had no knowledge about anything, and you know, now I have my own real estate course. And I remember, I think we talked about this last time I was here, that when I met you, I just was really uncertain. I mean, I knew that I loved real estate and that I wanted it to be a method of investment and wealth creation for me. But when I saw this little house in Hamilton, I thought, yeah, it seems like an okay place. And you said, well, you don't have to buy it. But if you don't buy it, someone else is going to buy it this afternoon.
Right.
And I thought,
we just met.
Yeah, we just met.
I didn't want to be that pushy person.
No.
I didn't want to be that pushy agent. Like, I didn't want to push it on you.
And so, yeah, I think that was the first house we ever saw together, and I bought that house, and I still have that house. Actually,
Yeah.
I've refinanced that place, I think, twice.
Nice.
Anyway, it's the gift that keeps giving, that house.
It could keep giving.
It will. I know it has. It's paid for a lot of things, that house. Yeah.
So, do you remember what you paid for it?
Yeah, I remember exactly. I paid $315,000. Yeah.
Okay, what was it appraised at when you refied it the first time?
Oh,
Do you remember?
I think the first time, but I refinanced, I think 2 years later, so it wasn't long. I think it was appraised at $475 maybe.
$475. Okay.
Yeah, a couple of years later, and now I would probably say it would be, I don't know, $650 or $675.
more.
I don't know.
I saw a really small 5-bedroom, not nice house. They're asking for $6 right now, close by to yours. They'll probably get close to it.
Yeah, it's so hard to know in Hamilton these days. Like, the numbers just seem unbelievable, right?
We are talking about student rental as well. So, so my kids' school board just announced that they're going to do online and in person this fall. So my guess is the universities and colleges will follow suit. So we'll probably see a lot of students want housing this fall, and then a lot of buyers will come back to the market, right? Because I've been saying on the show for a while, like the softness in the market was condos. I think it was gone.
Yeah.
That's recovered, and the current softness is student rentals,
But that's going to be
not going
gone.
to last long.
I don't think, it's funny. There was a lot of us, I mean, my colleagues, my student rental colleagues and I all, had to weather a bit of a rough patch this year as kids were, wanted to get out of their leases. And there was a lot of houses for sale in Hamilton too. But it's one of those things, like if you can get through the really down times that 1 year, I just feel like the market's going to be on fire. First of all, people are going to be like clamoring to get out of their parents' houses so fast. And just so anxious to get back to life as we knew it, right? So I really just feel like it's a tiny little period to endure, and then it'll be back to, the great market it always has been, and the cash flowing market it always has been. So it's really just about weathering the storm a tiny bit more.
And it could swing hard the other way because there's going to be overprotective parents who are like, my kids aren't living with anyone else. And there's nothing to rent that's on the low density scale. Like, but there's gonna be some parents who are like, I want a place just for my kid. Right. They can rent to their friend, so there'll be like 2-3 people living there. And like these buyers will into the market, and there's not a heck of a lot of stuff.
There's not a lot. Yeah, no, it's true.
Like, and it's Hamilton, so it's not much nice. What am I saying? Like, I remember you telling me your stories about Queens in Kingston. Okay, so I want to go back to, so about 8 years ago, you bought that house in Hamilton?
Yeah.
What was your reasoning? Why did you do it? Because so even before that, like you and your husband are doing quite well living in Toronto. You had successful careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a market research analyst. I had a great job. And I just knew that I couldn't work more hours in a week to make more money. And I certainly wasn't going to save any money with 4 kids. There was just, it was getting harder and harder to save money, put it that way, and to accelerate our savings was going to have to take some creativity. And so the first house I bought was actually a house in Toronto. I bought it in Leslieville. It was just around the corner from where we live. So I bought that house in 2009, and I was able to refinance that property. And I bought that house with you in Hamilton next, and a couple more actually with the refinance from that. But it was really clear to me when I was working that there was just no way that we were gonna to satisfy our retirement objectives on just salaries. So real estate was just such an obvious thing to both of us. So we just started buying houses when it was really easy to buy houses and qualify for mortgages. And when we were really lucky, like we acquired a lot of properties in a kind of short order in sort of early 2010. Yeah, I guess that's about right. 2009, then 2013. That's when I bought the houses with you. So, yeah.
8 years. So a couple questions that come from that then. What made it obvious? And also, your first property was in Toronto. Why did you leave Toronto? You already lived in Toronto.
So we bought the house in Toronto just because it was close, and I ran by. That was actually when I was still running. So I found out on a run one day, and I came home. I said, "Honey, we're buying a house," and he thought, "Oh my God, I thought you just went for a run." And I came back having this house to buy, but by even 4 years later, the prices in Toronto were already astronomical, and I thought it's going to be really hard to continue this pattern of buying, refinancing, and repurchasing in Toronto. I need to find another market. So for me, so I started doing the work. I did the research. I hired a coach, and we started to look into things like just economic fundamentals, like where were markets that were close to Toronto that was easy enough for me to get to in a car that wasn't, huge, like a huge distance for me to get to, but had growth potential. And Hamilton was such an obvious market at that time, so it had everything going for it. So to Hamilton as a market was easy, and then student rentals I loved because, there's just such great cash flow potential. So it's all about research and just finding a niche that made sense to me, one that I felt I could learn more about and kind of master. And so I spent a lot of time buying student rentals and focusing in on that.
Yeah, when we're talking about student rentals, so the first property you bought was a student rental. I have a feeling the rents are going to go even higher this September.
Yeah.
Like we'll probably see like all new time highs.
Yeah, and they certainly are creeping up. What I do find funny is that Hamilton is a little bit further behind than some of the other markets. Like I have my own kids now who go to university, and like, wow, their rents are really high.
I don't know what that is.
In Kingston and in Kingston they're super high, but also the real estate is a little bit more expensive there too. Like I think in the student ghetto the houses are super expensive. So
which is weird.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton's closer to Toronto, yet our rents are lower. And you have a kid in London as well, right?
Yeah.
And they pay more in rent
Yeah.
than we do in Hamilton.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
So they're going to catch up. I hope they're going to catch up. I'm going to make them catch up.
We're going to get our revenge for this past year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember how many properties you accumulated? And also you did some with joint ventures as well, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, so eventually you run out of your own money, or your mortgage room. And so I really, I looked to joint ventures to help with sort of mortgage capacity at some point. And so I've worked successfully with partners for several years, and that's been a really great kind of side business as well, because not everyone has the time to kind of dig into what market they want to invest in, or not everyone has the inclination to want to do student rentals, yet they understand the sort of the financial benefits or payoffs from student rentals. So they work with me because they're like, I want to do a student rental, but I don't know where to go, and I don't want to do the work, so let's pair up. And so it's been a great sort of marriage between me and my partners, over the years. So we've had lots of properties over the years.
I remember one of the ideas I sold you on student rentals was it's supposed to be recession proof.
Right.
If the job market's bad, people are supposed to go back to school.
Yeah.
But no one went back to school physically.
Right. Well,
Who would have known?
We couldn't have put into any sort of predictive anything about the pandemic, right?
Yeah, we didn't factor in like a Spanish flu type problem.
No, exactly. Yeah, who could have known? But now we know. Now we're prepared to handle pandemics, I think. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully vaccine technology will just be better now.
Yeah.
Stop the next one from being a problem. So for people who want to joint venture, can you kind of generalize who you were joint venturing with? Because the mistake I often find is, first off, with new investors is they think it's all about the pitch. But I think one of the first things of someone who wants to raise money is to find, at least have an ideal partner. Did you have an ideal partner?
I did. So I wanted to work with people who obviously had enough financial capacity that 1 or 2 or 3 homes was not a big stretch for them, that they knew already that real estate was something that they were interested in. Like, I didn't have any desire to want to teach someone about why real estate was a good investment. So I knew I wanted to work with people who were sort of fairly well off, that were looking to diversify their portfolio to get higher than average returns, right? So these were things that they already ought to have been thinking about, and they were just too busy themselves to be able to figure out, oh my gosh, what market am I going to invest in? How am I going to lease a student rental? Or how am I going to find this house? Where do I go? So I need a partner who can do all that work for me so that I can make these great returns without having to do anything. And that's who my most successful partners were people like that.
Right.
Or business owners, or one was a sort of hedge fund manager guy.
Oh boy, they have a lot of money.
Right. So right.
So mortgages were no problem for them to get. Okay. So the neat thing about your story is that you've almost come like full circle now, because you have some partners who want to exit.
Yes.
After 5 to 8 years.
Exactly.
And can you share what the reasoning is for exiting?
So one of my partners wants to exit because he's 60 and he wants to retire. And now, so for the last 5 years he wanted to diversify, and now he wants to simplify. He wants to cash out of some of his investments and I guess just start spending it.
Right. And it makes sense too, because they'll take income when they're retired.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart.
So anyway, I mean, on the one hand, it's great to have had, we're going to have some pretty successful exits together. But it's sad. I hate selling good assets. It really, the only time you sell a good asset is when you know where you have somewhere else to put it. And so this would be the question about is where am I going to allocate these new funds that I have?
So before you sell, can you tell us about one of the properties you're selling? Just pick one. Tell us about it.
Okay. So one is a single family home in Hamilton. It's fully detached. It's got 5 bedrooms.
And that's
We bought that
I know the
together.
property. I know
Yeah.
exactly the property. I remember everything.
Uh-huh.
I remember the concerns about the hood and
Yeah.
because it's because we chose that house because it was an affordable area.
It was an affordable area, and we bought it really strategically because of where we thought the LRT was going to go.
Thought the LRT was going to go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But
So,
we knew that even
Yeah.
without the LRT, it would still work.
yes, absolutely.
Right.
It was in a key area for a lot of reasons. So
Right.
we knew it was up and coming. It was a little bit further behind, and so we expected to have an accelerated rate of return based
Right.
on where it was and where we saw it, like neighborhoods going.
Because it was just outside the nicer neighborhoods,
Yeah,
and it was I would actually argue to say it was probably one of the nicest houses on the street.
probably.
Right, because there were some not so nice houses on the
There's
street.
some crazy places on that street.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't you have some interesting neighbors?
Not that I know of. I haven't
I
heard.
thought it was that one.
Is that one?
I thought it was that, but it was this
There's been
was
a lot of
5
neighbor stories for my houses over the years, but I don't think that was.
Okay. Anyways, so I remember that was a nice red brick house, all brick house.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what you think you'll sell it for?
So, I think James is putting on the market for $650,
Do you remember what you paid for it?
$310.
Okay. And what did you get for rent? Do you remember when you first got it? And the year? Is that 4 years ago?
Yeah. So we've only ever had one tenant.
It's the same tenant.
So we're below market rent, unfortunately. But they've really cared for the house super well. So we're a bit low in rent, but we're low on market rent, but low on hassles, right? So this is the trade-off you get. So I
Right.
think they paid 17. By this year, they're paying $17.85, so well under market rent.
And what would market be?
I don't know, probably at least $2,200 or $2,300 at this stage.
Right. And okay. This was you know what? That might have been the last house I helped a client buy.
Oh, was it? Oh,
You were the camel.
lucky.
No, you were the straw that broke the camel's back. No, I'm
was
just kidding. It's just a point in my business, and everyone has to move on. Everyone moves on in their careers, right? Just like you moved on in your career.
yeah, it's been a huge arc in terms of all sorts of different stuff.
I know. It's when I met you.
Yeah.
I remember meeting you. And yeah, you bought the first house I showed you. So you had a job back then, 8 years ago. What gave you the comfort that you were gonna? Because you left that job pretty soon after I met you.
Yeah.
like within 2 years.
Right. Yeah, but don't forget, I also was in the process of starting up a big business as well. Okay. So I was migrating from a job to being a business owner as well. Right. So that took a lot of sort of time and effort and
significant investment.
Yeah. Sure.
Can we talk about it?
About the numbers of it was a huge trampoline park. So the capital expenditures to get that started were pretty hefty.
Can you name it?
Oh yeah, Sky Zone. It was Sky Zone Whitby that I partnered with my sister. So she had several parks in the GTA, and I did. We shared Sky Zone Whitby together. Okay,
so I think anyone with kids has probably been to a trampoline park because I've been to your trampoline park. No, sorry, I went to your sister's one in Mississauga, right? So I think everyone has an idea what they look like. So for the listener who has never seen a trampoline park, I have about 16 listeners, so maybe one of them hasn't seen one. Can you paint a mental picture what a trampoline park looks like?
Imagine going into like an airplane hangar. It's a ginormous space with super high ceilings and wall-to-wall trampolines or trampoline-like equipment.
Well, your sister's one in Mississauga. That was the first one. A hockey arena, right?
I think it was formerly, and that was actually the first trampoline park in all of Canada. Right. So she was really a trailblazer in bringing that whole brand, not even the franchise, but really the industry to Ontario and to Canada. It was the first. So yeah, it was really, and we all had, my sister and I both had really young children at the time. So for us, it was, and we have 9 children between the two of us too. So, opening a trampoline park was really about, exhausting the children. Like, how can we tire the kids out in a business that makes our heart kind of glow at the end of the day? And you feel happy that you're getting kids out of their basement and doing some exercise. So it was really a labor of love doing Sky Zone and operating that with her, especially. Yeah.
Okay, so aside from operating the business, some of the same like research and economic fundamentals for real estate, same thing for a sky zone. And just to back up, like you bought property in Toronto and Hamilton and Welland and St. Catharines.
Yeah.
But you started this business in Whitby. So that was I don't know how much did you know about Whitby before you started looking at this business?
We knew an awful lot about Whitby. Right. I mean, all the economic signs were pointing to Durham as a huge growth area, just like it was to Hamilton in the west. It was saying the exact same things about Durham and Whitby to the east. So our selection of Whitby was really deliberate in terms of where we put that park.
And then significant investment.
Yeah.
Because these things you guys didn't just buy these from Walmart.
No, oh my gosh, no. Like the capital investment in that is huge, right? And just to buy the trampolines and it's a lot.
And then you had, how many staff did you have?
Well, at one point we had probably close to 100 part-time staff.
What was the average age of your staff?
Oh, they were really young. So again, like that was one of the fantastic, well, the good and the bad part about being a business owner with kids is that we felt like we were often the first employer for many of these kids, right? So you give them their first job and it feels really good to train them and to, help them develop their skills. But also 17-year-olds are also 17-year-olds. Like there's a lot they just don't know in terms of customer service. So, and with Facebook and Google reviews, you get one staff member who doesn't know how to handle a customer service issue, and all of a sudden you get like a horrible, review on Google. So these were like the ups and downs of the business. On the one hand, you feel so great about helping these kids, get their wings and fly off and as new employees, and on the other hand, it's like over and over face palming moments about how little they actually know. And you're like, wow, my business reputation depends on these kids. Anyway.
And then how long did you keep the business for?
So it opened in July of 2015, and then we sold quite miraculously in September of 2019. So really all the signatures were done about 3 months before the first, reported COVID-19 case.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so I, the timing for us was, just really incredible. We were really lucky to have exited when we did.
What was the reason for exiting?
We had an offer, like our head office in Los Angeles was looking to acquire Canadian parks. They wanted ones that were successful and established, and they said, "Can we buy your parks?" And we said, "Sure."
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a foreign hedge fund or private equity.
It was the head office.
This made you an offer you couldn't refuse?
Yeah. Well, they just said, "Do you want to sell?" And we said, "Sure." And we were happy about that it wasn't some, sort of young entrepreneur trying to get a start, because they would have been a difficult time to start. So they'll be fine.
I guess we didn't talk that much about it, because I don't know. I had this idea that that's some Asian buyer here.
No. It was our head office.
I don't know what I was thinking. And then what's business like for them now?
There is no business.
Oh, gee.
There's no business. And then there's, of course, these, rents of these 30,000 square foot spots that have to be maintained. So it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait, hang on. Does your family still own any?
No.
All of them?
They're gone.
All of them? Oh, my. You guys got lucky.
Yeah, we got lucky.
It wasn't like the writing was on the wall that you needed to get out. It was...
No. There was no anything. It was just like, oh, okay, you want to buy it? That seems great. Sure.
Are they going to reopen?
I hope so.
I
hope so. Yeah, anyway, for any, look, I mean, the sad tale of business owners is not just for the trampoline parks or our colleagues in this space. It's really for anyone who has a big business with a big rent. I don't know how they recover from that. I don't think the subsidies from the government are enough to, I don't know, who knows what's going to happen, or who knows how they're going to reopen. Many of them are probably going to have to establish some sort of partnership with their landlord. Landlords are probably going to get equity in these companies in order to, rather than evict them, they're going to say, I'm going to want 50% of your business. Who knows?
Tough.
Yeah, it's tough stuff.
Yeah, because even going forward, it's tough. It's because indoor gyms are not favorable, or it's favorable for the vaccine. Sorry, for the virus. It's yeah, they're just perfect places for the virus to spread.
Yeah, and everyone's thinking. No one feels the same way. Before, it was a place to go where you could, like truly the vibe in a Sky Zone was you felt free. You felt like you could leap and jump, and you could
there's a playground.
Be sweaty and free, and it was a playground. And now, really, I'm sure the whole feeling in there is I'm in a enclosed spot with sweaty other people, and I don't want to be in here. I mean, really, the whole thinking about indoor recreation is probably turned on its head over this. So.
Yeah, because I remember when I came to visit you at your gym, and I was trying to do flips off a was it no, it's off a trampoline into a foam pit. And normally I don't think I've tried to do rotations since. that was probably around 5 years ago. And because again, I don't think I've tried to do that sort of stuff ever again.
Right.
But that Sky Zone was a safe place to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure people look at a giant, thousands and thousands full of foam cubes, and they think, I'm not getting in there.
Oh boy.
Right? Yeah, so it's hard.
Yeah. Thank your lucky stars you got out at that time.
Yes, indeed.
And then what was next for you after that? Because then that did consume a fair amount of your time and your capital.
Absolutely. And so, so when we sold in September, we, as a family, me and my husband's family went away in January of that year. And when I came back, I really, I actually felt a little bit lost. Like I really didn't know what to do with my time. This was just in the first lockdown, like the first serious lockdown when the pandemic struck. And so that's when I started doing my big thinking. I'd go on these really, really long walks, and I'd listen to these podcasts by these macroeconomists, because that's what I would do for fun. But this was all from a tip from Tom and Nick Carezza. From there, I listened to their podcast by that man, Saifuddin Amos, who wrote the Bitcoin Standard. And I started digging into that. And I literally would go for these long walks every single day and listen and listen and listen and listen about cryptocurrency. And so I really have gone down this crazy, crazy rabbit hole of trying to understand cryptocurrency. And it's a completely new language for me, and I don't really get it, but I sort of do. And I just find it fascinating. So I've been doing that.
What have you been doing with cryptocurrency? And also, so there's beginner cryptocurrency, like what I do. I'll only touch two. Right. I'll only touch the big ones, like Ethereum and Bitcoin. How many do you touch?
Well, I don't know if you really want to know. So I started off just...
Adam's laughing.
So I started off, it took me a really long time to pull the trigger. So as I said, I listened for months. I mean, I wish I had gotten my courage up sooner, because in March of this, in March 2020, Bitcoin was at its lowest price it's been forever. It fell off the cliff just like the market did when the Corona crash happened. But I really needed to kind of, convince myself that this was the right market to be in. And so by the summer, I had bought Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. And that's all I did for the first little while. But then, because I had this YouTube addiction where I would go for walks all the time and keep listening and listening, I started to find people on YouTube that who I really admired. And they started talking about like altcoin investments and all this kind of stuff. And so I was really interested by that. And so now I invest in a lot of them. Okay.
So I just want to go back, because we were laughing about. I was laughing when you mentioned Saifuddin almost. And I loved his book.
Yeah, nice one.
And it's called The Bitcoin Standard. Yeah. Is it a book you'd recommend?
Well, you know what? I actually never read his book. I listened to him in podcasts. Oh, okay. So I have the general gist of his philosophy.
Read the book.
I know. I should read the book. But as I said, I wasn't reading. I was walking and listening
audiobook
all day. I know. I feel like I know the gist of this, the Bitcoin Standard anyway, from his podcast. But
right. Oh, okay. You listen to his podcast.
I listen to podcasts and podcast interviews with him, and him and other macroeconomics as well too.
Yeah. I like the book because it took it slow. Yeah. It took you to like the whole journey of money.
Yeah, I know, and it's important to understand all of that too.
Yeah, because once you understand it all, you at least you can at least understand an argument for at least gold. At
Yes.
least you would have, at
Yeah.
a minimum, you would understand why people put money in gold.
Yes.
Right. And then the next step is just digital gold.
Right. Magic internet money, as my husband calls it.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. So
Yeah.
this is actually funny because I've actually I've clients like yourself, husband and wife, and actually one husband one time said to me, he said, "Don't tell my wife this, but she's responsible for generating all of our net worth in our family." And he makes lots of money.
Yeah.
But creation of net worth needs more than just a high income.
Right.
Right. So that's what he said.
Yeah.
Couldn't the argument be made for your family?
Well, I think my husband would definitely say that I have been the one to take way more financial, and I say risk in quotation marks, because it's not really risk. It's more calculated moves financially that might not be seen as sort of typical, but always been very methodical and mostly been methodical and well researched.
Right. Well, your career before all of any of this stuff was in research, so it seems like it's something you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so so talk to me like I'm your neighbor who's like who's open-minded at least.
Right. Okay.
What did you call it? Magic internet money? What's this magic internet money?
Right.
Please explain to me, Gillian.
Okay, so the reason why I got interested in cryptocurrency, one, because when I started looking into it last year, it just so happened that there are these broad cycles in cryptocurrency, and in Bitcoin there's something called the halving that happens every 4 years, where the supply of Bitcoin is cut in half. So there are these supply shocks that happen just as there are these demand increases. So the price of Bitcoin tends to go up in these big steps every 4 years. And as it turned out, just as I was learning about it, was coinciding with this sort of halving event. And so I was like, wow, this could be really good timing for us if I'm just learning about this at this kind of right time. So it just seems like the economic circumstances of Bitcoin that exist all by itself, combined with just the crazy economics of the world right now, with all this money printing and businesses being shut down, for me it just seemed like there was never a better time to invest in something, into sound money, ever. So, like, whether that's gold or digital gold, which is Bitcoin. So to me, it just was an absolute no-brainer to dig into that. Now, the altcoin stuff, that's totally different. That's super speculative. That's kind of like the penny stocks of whatever, where you can, you can make multiple X's in a month, or you can lose it all. So, like, I dabble in that for fun, just to kind of see what happens. And so far, it's been interesting. But really, the Bitcoin investment is more about a really long-term horizon for protecting and protecting your wealth against what we know is going to come in terms of devaluation of the dollar and like scary economic demise, really. So sound investments, like real estate is a sound investment. You can't just print those. You can't just print Bitcoin. So these are things, it's a way of diversifying out of my real estate portfolio into something else that really will protect our wealth over the years to come.
I actually find that real estate investors are pretty good at making the move over to Bitcoin. Yes and no, because a lot of real estate investors want something they can touch, right?
But they also understand sound money principles too. Like, they understand that
finance supply.
Yeah.
I find that they understand finance supply very well, because that's what real estate is. You can't make more land, and where the transition's easy for real estate investors, I find, is that they understand you cannot just make another Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can, but it's you can't fake it.
You can't fake it.
You can't manufacture it easily. And as they learn more things, like, it's harder to manufacture than gold. Like, it's harder to make a Bitcoin than it is to mine gold. Right. It's that hard. It's that hard an asset. So then we see more and more adoption, I find, with real estate investors. At least I can think some of my own ideas how I got into it as well. Have you heard? Okay, so do you have preferred means of buying Bitcoin?
There's an exchange that I use.
Kraken?
I use Kraken.
ShakePay? Whatever it's called?
I use Kraken.
Right.
Yeah, I've always used it since the beginning. Like,
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know people use BitBuy.
You know, there's so many out there. I don't know that there's, I mean, again, like in terms of doing the research, so a lot of these exchanges, there's a lot of sort of lore out there of these, you know, exchanges that get hacked and people,
Yeah.
you know, so you just got to make sure that you're with a reputable exchange, the larger the better,
Yeah.
so that your magic internet money doesn't vanish, or to keep it in a you know, cold storage wallet or something like that to make sure that it's safe. Which is what terrifies people, right? The possibility that someone could hack an exchange and make off with all your money. And these are legitimate concerns. So you have to actually do a little bit of work to make sure that you're doing the safe things.
Aren't people more likely to forget their password than they are to get hacked?
I don't know. Like, I think so, probably.
Okay, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I do the grayscale stuff.
Uh-huh. Well, so there's really strong opinions that exist in this space. So the Bitcoin maximalists will tell you not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and that's kind of fake. But look, not everyone wants to have control over Bitcoin coins. Like if you want to invest in Bitcoin, then invest in Grayscale. Like it's easy to do. You can do it in your Interactive Brokers account. It's not complicated.
Okay. Anywhere you can buy stock, you can buy it. And this isn't advice, folks. We're
no.
not giving advice.
There's easier ways and harder ways to do things. And if you want Bitcoin exposure, that's you're buying it. You're not buying the Bitcoin itself.
Oh, I know
you're
that,
directly invested in it. So do that.
To me, it's easier because I don't need to transfer money and figure out these exchanges and have a cold. I have a cold wallet.
Right.
I don't know where it is right now. See, that's the first problem.
I know. You're like, what if you lose your key? What if you lose your wallet?
Yeah.
I know. Well.
So I haven't opened it yet, but I bought a cold wallet. Yeah. I don't even know where it is. So you can see why I shouldn't be trusted with these things.
Yeah. Well, I think if you had, a few Bitcoin on it, you'd probably know exactly where it was.
and then can we talk about Dimitri? Your friend Dimitri, who's involved with Ethereum. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get him on the show.
Right. Well, I did a again a Philip McKernan kind of course with him. Mm-hmm. He's a great guy. His son is the founder of Ethereum.
Mm-hmm. And they're from originally Russia, right?
They're from Russia.
And
mm-hmm.
then where do they live?
They live in Toronto.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And they're pretty successful?
I don't think he does. I don't think Vitalik does. I think he lives like in Singapore or something, but Dimitri lives in Toronto.
Interesting. Like they could really live anywhere they want.
Probably.
I'd want to hide, probably.
Yeah.
If I was that.
You wouldn't necessarily know anything about. He's very unassuming. He's a lovely person.
And then, can you take a shot at explaining Ethereum? Because I don't understand it.
Well, Ethereum is the mechanism to purchase. Like it's the utility. So Bitcoin doesn't really have a ton of utility. You don't really buy things directly with Bitcoin, but Ethereum is the sort of peer-to-peer part. So you buy things with Ethereum, right? So if you wanted to buy an NFT, for example, you'd have to own Ethereum in order to do that. You'd exchange. It's sort of more of a medium of exchange.
We're just gonna scare people with all the stuff we're talking about. NFTs. Is that
I don't know a ton about that, but.
Yeah, and that's why I'm keeping it small, right? Just Bitcoin and Ethereum for me, and it's still small.
But I have to say, like, the reason why I think I felt emboldened even to go down this rabbit hole was because I had taken your stock hacker, your options trading course. So really just getting into, obviously Bitcoin's not a stock, and neither is Ethereum, but really getting that notion of trading and trading currency and trading stocks. I just felt like it was a language that I was learning. I had developed all sorts of comfort around stuff that I never had before, and I just felt more comfortable wading into the space as well because of that. And now I'm learning, because I trade, do stock trading with you. I also am learning how to trade Ethereum and Bitcoin as well. Like I'm learning technical analysis. And I'm terrible at it, but I'm learning it, and I feel like it's kind of fun to learn how to do new things.
What I found cool about so as a real estate investor, like I poured everything I had into being a real estate investor, the best I could possibly be. But when I started doing stock hacker, selling stock options, and learning more about stocks, to learn about stocks, you have to understand a lot more about the world, right? And then when you're trying to understand the world, you have to understand money.
Right.
and that will lead you down this Bitcoin rabbit hole, because it leads you to gold. It absolutely has to lead you to gold, right? No one can. I don't know if anyone argues that gold is money. Hopefully not.
No,
I'm sure there's some people that argue. There's people that argue that the world is flat. So I'm sure there's people who argue that gold isn't money, but whatever. But yeah, if you study money, you study gold, you're gonna at least have a look at Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't really. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but I almost like separate the things, and especially when you say alternative coins.
Yeah, well, some of them are just like pure speculation, but
yeah.
But the whole idea. So I mean, this year really has been about expanding my financial literacy into all sorts of different areas, right? So before it was more bricks and mortar building, like my business, and now it's more, trying to understand, my options trading, trying to understand the cryptocurrency a little bit better. Yeah, so it's just a whole new phase. I love it.
It's like the Midas touch. Everything you've touched has turned out well. And it's not all sunshine and roses.
No,
We've both had crappy tenants.
Yeah, for sure.
We've both experienced the growth market, growth stocks not doing well this spring.
Yeah.
So please, folks, make no mistake. This isn't all sunshine and roses.
No, for sure not. But I mean, it does, and it takes a lot of work to do it. It's kind of like that running, right? Where the slow and steady, methodical commitment to wanting to improve over time. Nothing happens overnight. The people who do the more work, the runners who run the longer distances are the ones who are gonna. Like the slow and steady practice, really. It's really about slow and steady practice.
Do you see how I said that you're learning to run with this model? This is completely analogy for everything you do. Yeah, and then the faster you want to go out of the gates, that's where you make the most mistakes. That's where you get the injuries. It's the slow, the steady. Check your ego at the door. Yeah. Like walkers go past me sometimes when I'm running because I have to keep my. People using walkers?
No, not people using walkers. Not that slow. No, that's hilarious. Yeah. Anyway.
What would you suggest? Where should people start learning about cryptocurrency? Do you have a place you suggest?
Oh, you know what? Again, like there's a ton of really, really, really smart people on YouTube. There's a couple of economists that I follow who are so smart that really you could listen to any of their stuff and be enlightened. There's one guy named Raoul Pal, and that's RAOULPAL. Just impossibly smart. He's the one who's writing the newsletters for all the hedge fund companies. He's a giant macroeconomist. Everyone turns to him for the trends. And you start there and see who he's following.
Right. He posted a great graph on his Twitter comparing the stock market to money supply. Because when people are going like the stock market's nuts, when you compare it to money supply, so you kind of bring it back to like I forget the term. Kind of like when you take inflation out of money, for example, then that's essentially what he's trying to demonstrate is the market has gone up. What the stock market has gone up is a reflection of increased earnings and money supply. If you take out the increase in money supply, the stock market has actually behaved reasonably based on the earnings, its earnings. And then I thought immediately, should apply this to real estate. And
Same, right?
Of course, right? Like, and the example I give, and I know some people are gonna get mad at me about this, but if you compare like Alberta real estate, so you look at Canada, you look at each province for its real estate market, and for example, like Alberta has only gone up like slightly, right? So then if you compare it to the increase in money supply, you've actually kind of lost money,
right? Yeah.
Right. And then people get mad at me for this.
I'm sure.
And then the thing that I think about is like, look how much money printing it had to happen for your real estate to go up this little. So that's sort of stuff just interests me. And in the end, just having an open mind. I've heard Raoul Pal people recommend him before as like a good news source.
Amazing news source.
Yeah, and that's why I love Twitter, because then I can get it directly from him.
Right. So Twitter. I've spent quite a bit of time on Twitter too, following ideas on Twitter is fascinating. There's so many amazing. Yeah, I've got myself into some trouble on Twitter.
That's why I'm laughing. I'm sorry. We're going to share, listener. Don't worry. We're not going to hold inside jokes away from you. Because you guys know I don't hide anything from all 16 of you. So what are we laughing about? What happened on Twitter?
Well, okay, so I'm brand new to Twitter. I never spent any time on Twitter. And so I thought what I really wanted to do was curate, I wanted to get sort of up-to-date information on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I found like a handful of people who I thought were really smart. There's Willy Woo, who's amazing. He's an economist as well. Of course, I followed Saifedean Ammous. And the guy Plan B who did this big regression analysis on Bitcoin, which gives us predictive price of about $240,000 this cycle. Have you never heard of Plan B? I've got to tell you about him. But anyway, so I was following
the brand throws me off.
Anyway, so I was following Saifedean Ammous, and he's when you listen to him on YouTube, really diplomatic guy, but he has some really seriously, just really harsh views about.
Yeah, he's political.
Yeah, he's really political, and he basically said that he didn't want to take advice from any fat people about COVID. And I thought that was really weird.
It was harsh.
It was really harsh. Yeah. Anyway, so the first comment I ever wrote anywhere on Twitter was something to the effect of, just out of curiosity, what did I say? How did it work? Anyway, it was basically challenging him and saying, well, what would happen? Where are the skinny people gonna get treatment? And he blocked me. Yeah. And I'd never written a comment to anyone on Twitter before, and he didn't like me challenging this notion that COVID could actually spread and that skinny people could end up in a hospital and what happens to them, because he just made this really nasty anti-fat comment. And anyway, he didn't like that. I've been blocked on Twitter. From your first comment. My first comment ever.
You're so offensive
to anyone. And I don't know. I kind of think I'm I don't know. I don't really think I'm like a rude person. Anyway, I wish I could remember the comment properly, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's quite strong opinions.
Yeah, very strong.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in any sort of government subsidy.
No.
Which is really weird, because that's like healthcare and education.
Or any lockdown stuff, or anyone telling him what to do.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty strong political views around the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin narrative has a lot of political narrative around it too. I don't really follow any of that stuff, but some of them hold really strong views.
Yeah. To me, the problem though is like if you talk like that, then people aren't, because he goes against a lot of very commonly accepted things. Like in my opinion, people need to pay tax so we can have healthcare for all, and same thing with education. Those are good things. Government subsidy, right? We need these things, and so it's okay to subsidize some stuff. And then he's like, no.
He's not a believer in that.
Because sorry, we'll get off this in just a moment, listener. All 16 of you. But he rejects the idea of electric vehicles because the manufacturers receive government subsidies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But then he must reject the idea of global warming then.
I don't know.
Oh boy. And so I'm not saying he does, because you can almost draw that line.
Right.
You reject subsidizing electric vehicle manufacturing. Because useless fact of the day. The GTA pre-pandemic produces as much greenhouse gas as the oil sands, right? So don't you think we have a problem?
Right.
There's plenty of people who are anti-oil sands for good reason. Shouldn't you be anti-pollution in the GTA by cars, right? So hang on, where was I going? So if you're anti that, then are you right about Bitcoin? And so it kind of tarnishes the great work he's done.
I thought so. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to keep them separate. Yeah,
I can keep it separate. Yeah. But I think for example, if he was like a world leader on the subject, like you're going to tarnish your opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got some smart ideas and then some political views that are difficult to sort of reconcile for me personally. Yeah,
no different than like any politician. Like if they do something crazy, then it's not even crazy. They do like the littlest thing, and then like that's all people will talk about. Okay, we'll all get off of that now. So Twitter.
It's Twitter.
Don't talk to people.
Don't talk. Well, yeah.
be sensitive to Saifedean.
I know. So now
Love his book though. I've been sending it to people.
Yeah, but now I'm just really nervous to say anything on Twitter anymore. So I don't say now. I just sit in the background and I just listen and read. I don't want to get blocked from people. Anyway, so I'm on Twitter quite a bit now, which I never thought I would be.
I'm on as a consumer. I don't post like anything.
Yeah, no, I consume.
Yeah, because again, that in the world of fake news and the way how and clickbait, I just want to hear from the source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the headline writing for clickbait, I understand marketing a little bit, so it frustrates me because I like details. And I don't like being duped into reading something that's no good. Oh, we haven't talked about charity yet. You started a charity. What year was that? 3-4 years?
Well, again, so this is another thing that comes back to you, right? So it's funny because all roads basically in my life come back to
No.
Well, sort of. I mean, in many ways, they do. Real estate investing started with you. Options trading happened to you, met Rockstar, invested in Bitcoin, started with you, started this charity because I really liked your charity and I thought, wow, that's a really great charity. I think Toronto needs one of those charities. And so I started the Toronto chapter of the Basket Brigade, and it has been probably one of the most meaningful projects I've ever done. Ever. It's been such a wonderful thing in my life, and there's 4 of us on our board, and yeah, like the impact that we have done, like right in our local community, again, hyper local, just like yours started, has been like truly remarkable. Like we've changed a lot of lives just in our neighborhood, and it feels really great.
Yeah, I saw that because like hyper local, like your street that you live on,
pretty much
a couple streets,
yeah,
like with it from your home, and you guys rallied fast and hard.
Yeah, we did. It's great. We managed to raise. So the board was selected. The people I selected on my board was carefully designed. Right, these are again really smart women, really active women in the community who had great reach. And so we were able to just raise so much money in such a short period of time. And then this year we were lucky. We got a matching donor. It's just amazing, like dollar for dollar. I mean, it's been wild, really incredible.
Okay.
And it was sad for us not to have been able to do our, like Christmas time, we were not able to do our food boxes, which we really liked. We did gift cards instead, but it turns out that our charity recipients much preferred the gift cards.
They didn't want to cook frozen turkeys?
No,
what was it?
They did not want to cook turkey. And so...
Was that really it?
So it was actually really eye-opening for us, and made us as a board fundamentally rethink a lot of things, which was we liked putting together boxes of turkey dinner with all the fixings and veggies because we like to eat turkey dinners with all the fixings and all the vegetables. But turns out that our recipient charities want the money, and they don't want a Christmas dinner. They want money to buy food that lasts them 2 weeks. So they want the gift cards. And so as much as the act of coming together shoulder to shoulder in a church basement, putting boxes together of food made us feel good, what made our recipients feel really good was having the money. And so this put us in a big dilemma. Like, it was an interesting dilemma because, in fact, at the end of the day, it's not about us as a charity. It's about our recipients. So we had to fundamentally rethink about how we're going to go forward, recognizing that these gift cards are way more valuable, were way more useful to them than the food was that we picked, because it wasn't self-selected. And there's a lot of pride and really, we could talk for hours just about that as a philosophical notion about, do you pick what people's food is going to be, or do you give them the money to pick their own food?
Yeah, we've been running with this challenge since 2014.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But if your donors' hearts are filled with the idea
Yep.
of getting into a church basement, and they're
Yep.
going to open their wallet
Mm-hmm.
so much more because they do something that makes them feel good, then how do you reconcile this notion that people will give more when it makes them feel good, even though anyway, it's.
We'll talk more another
We'll
time.
talk more about it. It's a fascinating thing. But all that to say, this charity has been a wonderful addition to our community, to me, to our family, just to everyone.
And then, not to steal anything from what you're accomplishing, I've seen people post things, and I feel like they're said to me about people complain about seeing other people doing charity work. Like apparently, in one language, I won't name what language it is. There's a word for it on being charitable and not talking about it. And I'm like, well, if I don't talk about it, I'm not going to inspire anyone. And if I don't show it to my kids, how are they going to learn to do it?
Right.
Right. So I'm on the opposite end. I think you
Right.
need to shout it out from the rooftops.
I agree. And how would anyone know to give you money if they didn't know you had a charity that you were working to support? So, yeah, I mean, you need to advertise what you're doing. You need to raise funds for your charity
Yeah.
too. So, but yeah, anyway, it's a tough, I mean, I also do think that there's a quiet acts of service as well that we can also do in our life.
Oh yeah. I do those too.
But it doesn't have to be everything.
Yeah. Like I'm just sharing because I don't need recognition for stuff. But like when the pandemic first happened and restaurants were getting slaughtered, right? I was buying tons of gift cards, and not for myself. I said, like what charity? I asked a restaurant owner, what charities do you work with? I work with the Halton Women's Shelter. So okay, here's my credit card. Give me $500 of gift cards. Now give it to them, right? And now I'm supporting two things. I support the restaurant and the local women's shelter.
Right.
It's not even my charity.
Right.
And I told them, don't even tell them who I am. I don't want. They don't. And that's not what I want. To me, this is like. I've been blessed in the pandemic financially, right? So this is just me giving back, right? And I don't talk about it anywhere else except for our 16 friends and yourself, our 16 friends who are listening to the show, right? I do plenty publicly, right? I don't need, whatever. And you need to rally volunteers if you don't talk about it,
Yeah,
right?
have to talk about it.
Yeah, you have to talk about it. And no different than if you're a real estate investor.
No.
People need to understand this is normal. You can't just, because people always say like, oh, the bank will never tell you to invest in real estate.
Right.
Which is true. They're just going to market to you what makes them money.
Right, and you have to if I want to get joint venture partners, I have to talk about my real estate success in order to get other joint venture partners. It's kind of how business works, right? So it's not about bragging, it's not about boasting, it's about sharing. And first of all, only the people who are interested or who might be interested in your message are going to even notice it. First of all, so I will talk about my real estate success around those people who I think might be interested in it. Those who are will say, hey, that sounds really great. I'd like to do a deal with you, right? And those who don't want to do a deal with me don't care what I talk about in terms of my real estate success, right?
Because I'm pretty sure your joint venture partners who are exiting are pretty happy with
They're
you.
pretty happy. I'm just sad. I don't want to exit anything. Anyway.
Okay, so I just want to drill down a little bit more on the charity, and then we'll move on to what you're going to do with all that money. So what does the charity do? Like, who is your customer?
So the Riverdale Basket Brigade. So we have a couple of local charity partners who we have donated to. Well, we have several. So mostly, kind of like you did when you started your charity, you partnered with school principals to either identify families in need, we found that pretty laborious to find families that way. So we decided to seek out, again, local experts who are well connected to the families in need and work with a couple of select partners that way. So there's an organization really only a few blocks away from my house called the Blake Wolfby Youth Outreach Center. They are the access point for tons and tons of new families in crisis. And then there's another organization just up the street from us, and they are the ones who are the hub where people go to who need in our community. And so we give gift cards to them, and they help disperse the gift cards out to their local families. But then there's like, a few women's shelters and stuff like that as well too.
We should probably talk. How we pivoted was because we had the same issues with providing food. The volunteers loved it. We, the organizers, didn't love it because it was such a logistical challenge. You couldn't scale it. Like we did like 3 truck deliveries, as in like a truck, like a big truck would have to go to the grocery store 3 trips to get us enough food.
Yeah.
For when we were doing like 350 families.
Yeah.
So, but our budget's actually gotten bigger. But anyways, so what we did was we pivoted in that we partnered with a wholesaler, because I always love buying things cheaper.
Right.
So I'm paying like 30 cents on the dollar, and also what we found, what the gap was for the schools was warm clothing. Because like you said, like people, like new arrivals especially, people like refugees, for example, they don't have enough warm clothing, and footwear seems to be a big problem. Right? There's a lot of kids who don't have gym shoes, like a separate pair of shoes they can wear for gym. So those are the things that we're trying to attack with our charity, and also being able to get it for at wholesale prices, right? Because as much as I love gift cards, like it doesn't feel the same as giving someone a gift card as it does.
I know we grapple. We're struggling.
We'll talk more. I'll introduce you to Jody.
We'll talk more.
Yeah, because I love my money going further.
Yeah.
Right. And if I buy a gift card, my money doesn't go that far.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't go far at all. In fact, it's going to be the most expensive retail. Yeah. So
well, it's even worse if they lose the gift card.
Yeah,
Hopefully
exactly.
that happens. But.
Yeah.
But yeah, charity work's fun.
Charity work is so important.
So what are you gonna do with all this money after you sell all these properties?
Yeah. So the only reason why I would ever, oh my
Did
God.
I even say it right?
Yeah. Don't do that. That's good. Dogecoin. Do not invest in that. That's going to lead to a lot of tears and heartbreak.
This isn't financial, folks. Financial advice, folks.
No. Look, so for me, I've only ever sold assets when I had a really good plan for what to do with them next. But because this is a partner deciding that he wants to exit, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. Maybe I will invest in another business. I think this might be a great time to buy a business where someone wants to get out, and I'm sure you could buy it for cheap. Or I don't know. I have to think about that one. This will be the big question mark. You'll have to have me back in a year and ask me what I did.
Maybe buy a trampoline park.
No, that's it. All done.
Because that's just being strategic. Because I said that to a friend who opened a coffee shop not too far from the pandemic, and because my understanding for the hospitality sector, like the business model is you're not the first person who goes in. Like we were talking about Wade Graham, for example, on the podcast when how he started his float business. He wasn't the original owner. He was the second guy in, paying 15 cents on the dollar and walking into
a turnkey business.
That just didn't have clients. It just not enough clients. Right. I'm guessing that was a problem.
Right.
But he got all the equipment and everything was renovated already. Like that's
smart.
If you want to survive in business, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, like this is not the time. Again, like it's pretty much like financial 101. You buy low. When things are low now, that's when you buy. That's not when you sell. If you can avoid not selling right now when things are bad, that is good. If you can buy now when things are low, now is the time, right?
No panic selling.
No panic selling.
Yeah.
Panic buying if you can. Buy. Well, not houses. They're not low, but businesses.
I could argue student rentals. Well, I think student rentals will pop up significantly pretty soon. Yeah. So no concrete ideas.
No concrete ideas. Well, I do have to close on a condo that I bought a couple of years ago. So maybe I might just have to buy it outright.
Is that the on the waterfront
Yeah.
east side?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, can you explain why you bought a condo? Because that's so different than anything else you've bought.
Yeah, we had never bought a condo before, and in fact, I always thought condos were kind of stupid because how could you make them work financially?
Yeah.
But I liked it because it was a pre-construction condo and because the runway was really long. That to me is a good way to take advantage of just like time elapsing in a real estate market that typically goes up over time. So that you have, so if you wanted to sell, even when it was done, you could probably turn a profit if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit risky, and if I had to sell last December this condo, it would not have been good. But the timing worked out well. Like, it's appreciated quite a bit since I bought it, since we bought it.
Do you know if you could assign it? Could you assign it today if you wanted to?
I can assign it now because the roof is on. So the assignment clause is all about sort of the degree in which the building is complete. But I bought that because it became clearer and clearer to me, especially as my kids were getting older, that they're not going to ever afford to buy a place in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So this to me feels like an investment in my kids' future, like directly helping them buy a place or a place that they can use, or even somewhere where we could downsize to later.
So why can't you just let your kids figure it out themselves?
I
think that's what the majority of parents are doing.
They will, but this will also be in our sphere, right? So eventually that will be helpful.
Because, for example, like in my experience, I grew up in Markham, right? And like none of my friends I grew up with live in Markham. They live much further out. Like live Georgetown, Stouffville, Bowmanville, right? They live much further from the city, right? Because unless someone took action at some point, you have to move further away. Driving for affordability, I think is the term, right? But you decide to potentially hedge for yourself for something you might want to live in later, or for your kids. How many did you buy? Do you buy one for each? You bought 4?
Well, we already have a duplex. We already have a duplex in downtown Toronto. And now we have a condo. So that's 4 bedrooms. That's 4 kids. They can each have a room.
Oh, it's 2-bedroom condo. Oh,
It's a 2-bedroom condo.
Just one? You just bought one
I just
2-bedroom
bought
condo?
one.
I thought you bought 2 for some reason.
No. I wish I had. So I've only ever regretted not buying things in real estate. I've never regretted buying something. I've only ever regretted not buying something.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't regret having to divest stuff.
Yeah,
So, for anyone who hasn't bought a condo before, what was the structure like? Like, did you have to put some money down up front?
Yeah, and again, I like that because I think the first down payment was small. It was 5%. 5% upon signing, and then it was a total of 15% over, within 120 days.
Is it? Are they on time?
No. Of course not.
Of course not.
What?
There has been this whole pandemic.
But
thing.
again, that's been good. I think that's been good for us.
Yeah. The market.
Yeah, no, that's been good. I think that's
costs.
been good for us. But it's funny, my realtor who sold me the condo called me and said, I have a buyer if you want to sell it.
For how much more?
So we bought it for $627. He said for $800.
What are you thinking?
No, I don't want to sell anymore.
What are you gonna do with it?
We're gonna rent it. Rents are gonna be back to normal, rent high. A 2-bedroom brand new condo, I think will be fine.
Do you know when you close?
December.
Oh, okay. We should be well on to our way to whatever
so.
normal is.
I hope so. Oh, any normal would be good. Yeah.
And then for how long? And then what? Do you think one of your kids is going to take it over? Because you have kids in university.
Yeah, so I have a son who's 21. I mean, he'll be finishing Western next year.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see. I told them they can't move into anything yet.
Do they move home?
No, maybe. Who knows? I don't know what they'll do.
Because London's expensive. You can't exactly stay there either.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's great to have them all home right now.
Actually, while we're talking about student rentals in other neighborhoods, do you know what is the going room rate in London?
I think he pays $675 for his. And I pay my student rentals in Hamilton are $550. So
must be a dive.
It's not. They're nice. His place is a dive.
Really?
Well, it's not a dive, but I mean, there's 6 guys that live there. It's pretty gross, as you can expect.
That's supposed to be like a cleaner, and
yeah.
That should deal with it. It shouldn't be a dive.
No. I would say my student rentals are super nice compared to. And my daughter pays even more at Queens. But she's right on she's really right on university, a block away from campus, so that's expensive.
And how much expensive?
$780.
I don't know anyone who gets that much in Hamilton, even if they're close and nice.
No, they wouldn't get anything like that. And that is not. While I think that's outrageous because I'm a landlord and my rents are so much smaller and it bothers me that I pay more than I get for my student rentals. That is not an expensive rent in Kingston. It's not like that's outrageous. That's the going rate.
So these kids have 50K jobs that they can afford this.
Crazy.
But you never wanted to buy in London or Kingston for student rentals.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't buy. I didn't want to buy in Kingston. I thought it was too expensive to buy there. I would rather get 2 properties in Peterborough than one in Kingston.
Isn't the Kingston housing stock like really old too?
It's really, really, really old.
Yeah, like over 80 years,
Yeah.
like over 100 years.
They're old. They're really, really old houses.
Right.
So just from a financial decision standpoint, I'd rather go to Peterborough and buy 2 than Kingston and buy 1.
Right.
I should have bought in London, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't.
I don't know if anyone thought that rents would go up so fast and so high, being so far from Toronto. How far the city is from Toronto.
Yeah, I think if I had done it all over again, I would have bought a house in London, and I would have made my son the property manager, and I would have been able to pay him a legitimate salary, right? Like a real salary that the RESP wouldn't have to pay, that would be expensed against the business. I mean, there'd have been a lot of smart learning that I could have, like a smart plan that I could have done for him.
We would have bought Bitcoin back then too,
Yeah.
for $200 a coin.
Okay.
Because I think it was less than probably $200 when you started buying real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2000, what we're talking about, 2011, 12, yeah, it'd be under 200. Oh no, wait, when did Bitcoin start?
2011, I would say.
For like a penny, like what?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was really seen as really speculative then. Like I think I bought at the time when at least I have zero debt. It's not going to go to zero. I think for a long time there was some question about whether Bitcoin would go to zero. Now that institutions are investing in it, there's going to be a Bitcoin ETF momentarily.
There's so many already.
Yeah. Like
and for
in the States, I mean.
For all 16 listeners' benefit, the current price is about $57,000 US.
Yeah.
Right. So we could have bought that for like $1 instead of buying real estate.
We would have done better. Yeah.
But then it was all word of mouth, I guess, back then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, it's okay. So, what are you teaching your kids then about money? You have so many of them.
I know, right? It's funny. My son is he's really interested in the stock options. I show him my stock trades, and he's really interested in cryptocurrency as well. So I've helped him. I made him invest in the summer actually with me. I made him take some of his savings and invest in Bitcoin with me. So he's loving me at the moment.
And then your daughter?
She is truly not as interested in cryptocurrency, but everyone in our house talks of like the real estate business and about building wealth and growing wealth through real estate is just a conversation we've been having in our house for ever. So that's.
And then part of the argument for adoption of Bitcoin is like a lot of people are going to have a smartphone. What do you think their preferred means of having savings will be? Right? it ain't gonna be physical gold.
Right.
Because they're not gonna afford it.
Right.
It ain't digital.
Yeah.
Because already the younger generation doesn't want anything physical. They don't
Right.
want physical dollars.
Right.
They don't even want paper money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want paper money either, but they literally don't want bills in their pocket.
I think I think it's easier for them to understand this digital currency than it is for for older people, right?
Right.
It just seems to make sense to them.
They're already essentially digital currency. Just
Exactly.
everything's electronic payment for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they owe someone money, then they pay. Like, you know, do your kids pay with their phone with everything?
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, you do too?
I do too.
I only do when I forget my wallet, which is
I
often.
never bring a wallet anymore.
Oh God.
I'm all yeah, tap.
So then anyone who has a bit of decent financial knowledge
Mm-hmm.
should be concerned about fiat currency. And imagine if, for example, you live in Africa.
Yeah.
How much confidence would you have in any of those governments on their fiscal policy, on their monetary policy? Sorry, right? Why wouldn't you want to have something outside of their control,
Right.
right? And the young people seem to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And I'm not saying like this is like for sure be all end all, but it's worth a little money in. Not financial advice, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I am more than ever, just given the state of the economy, I feel like it's just a smart way to protect your assets.
Mhm. And,
Just diversify a little bit. Not a lot. Just a little.
and then if we don't want things to go bad, because for Bitcoin to go like crazy good, and same thing with gold, like things have to go really bad, and that's not what we want.
I don't actually think things need to go that bad for Bitcoin to go that well, personally. There's just so much mainstream adoption of it now. There's so many companies that are putting it on their balance sheets.
Mm-hmm.
It just, even a year ago, there was just no companies that believed that it wasn't anything other than a super volatile, risky investment. And in only like a year, the sentiment around it has changed entirely. People are now feeling like they would be foolish not to have some, and companies are plowing in like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you follow the smart money, then you know what they're doing. They are hedging their bets against the dollar, kind of going to.
I think it's problem solving. This comes back to problem solving. Money's being printed like crazy. Even in Canada, we have I think the highest debt to GDP growth in among a large pool of countries. So again, this is problem solving. So I think this has been okay. We have this problem. How do we protect ourselves from it? So you and I, we got lots of real estate, and there's other means. And again, these big companies like banks, like Goldman Sachs, like Square, like PayPal, they're not going to go buy real estate. I don't think they can. I don't know how a public company buys real estate like the way we do, which in my opinion is the best way to buy real estate. You own it yourself, right? That's something on land. That's not something they can do on scale. But yeah, it's okay. So I like what Elon said, sort of from Twitter. I like this point about Bitcoin. It's less crazy than holding cash.
Right, it's true.
So folks, we're not like Bitcoin zealots or anything. I like that. It's less crazy.
It's less crazy.
Yeah, just like holding gold, physical gold, for example, is less crazy than holding physical holding cash. Yeah, because cash is trash in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's where real estate investors get it, because no one can make more land. The government can increase the money supply. So why would you want to hold something that increases in supply? And I think it's increased like 25% in the last like year and a half.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because if anyone wants to do a quick history lesson, look what happens to other countries that print money out of control. Collapse of the Russian USSR.
Yeah, it's true.
It's happened before.
It has happened before.
All right, Gillian, I've said enough. Hey, we were supposed to talk about your course.
Okay, so I do. So one other thing that's taking up my time these days is my course. So together with my friends, Monica Jazik and Rachel Oliver, we have a a real estate investment course. Like, it's basically the fundamentals of real estate investing. And yes, we've been working on that. We're really, I mean, again, that's a labor of love for all three of us. I mean, really, we just have always wanted to empower other people with the same kind of knowledge that we have, that shows you how you can totally change your financial state with real estate. And so it's a course designed to help those who already believe that real estate is the way, but they don't have the tools to get started in it. So
because it hasn't worked out for you three.
Right, exactly.
I just like Rachel, I don't know, she's probably around like 400 rent-to-owns or something like that.
I don't think there's anyone who's been more successful in rent-to-owns than Rachel and Neil. They're a powerhouse couple in terms of their real estate business.
And it's not even volume; their quality of. I have never seen this quality of deal before.
No, I know. I'm a long-term investor with Rachel and Neil myself. Like, I've got rent-to-owns through them. I love them.
I'm gonna try and get them on the show. They were supposed to come. We were supposed to go golf and then lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the three of us can go golfing.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
We'll have to disinvite Neil then.
That's okay.
Just me and the girls.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Would you add a chapter for crypto?
Would I add a chapter for crypto? Oh no, I don't think so. Like, I don't feel like I'm.
I think you need to.
On crypto? It needs. The course is called From Confused to Confident Real Estate Investor. I don't know if you can add a chapter on crypto to that.
A chapter on charity?
Yeah. That might be I'd rather add a chapter on charity, I think.
Okay. All right. So Gillian, I always like to give my guests some airtime to share anything we haven't covered you wanted to share. Wow, we covered everything?
I think, we've been in lockdown for 6 weeks. What else is there? Like, we've all been at home for...
Oh, I wanted to make... so when you were telling me about... When we were having lunch and you were telling me about running, you know, there was this whole crowd that was like, oh, pandemic, you know, just go slow. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to accomplish anything. Just call it like take a year off type thing. But you did not.
I think I did the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I've learned a lot about myself actually in the pandemic. I do much better with really kind of strict goals. I love having like a project, a deadline, a business, a running goal, a 75 hard program. I love the discipline of that kind of structure, and I do my best when I have those like kind of parameters in place. And I feel great when I do that too. Like,
isn't that funny how we're always learning?
Yeah.
I feel dumb sometimes when I'm like, oh, I just figured that out about myself, and I'm over 40. Like, I've had a lot of time to figure this stuff out, and I'm just learning some new stuff now.
So I finished that program, that 75 hard program, and I'm just going to do it again. Like, why wouldn't I just do it again?
Wow.
Because I feel really good when I do that.
Such discipline.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because I was like, okay, so for folks who don't know, 75 hard, I don't know all of it. You have to read 15 minutes a day.
Okay, so the program is set up so it's for 75 days, and you have to accomplish all of these tasks. So you need to drink 4 gallons of water.
Gallons?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's an actual, you have to get used to that. I kind of thought I was going to float away in the beginning.
Isn't that like one of those milk jugs?
Yeah, no, it's one of those big Nalgene things. It's 4 of those, huge.
Sponsored by Nalgene.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you have to drink 4 gallons of water. You have to figure out whatever your diet is and stick to it. So they don't tell you what diet to do, but you have to figure out a diet and stick to it.
Wasn't it like no takeout?
There's no cheat meals, so you're not allowed to cheat ever. On whatever your diet is, you can't cheat once in 75 days. So mine was no sugar, no flour, and no cheese, which is really hard.
No alcohol?
Oh, and you're not allowed any alcohol.
No smoking?
It doesn't say anything about that, but I don't smoke. So you're not allowed any smoke. No.
Okay.
So no.
Well, if you need to acquire a vice to replace the other ones.
I don't know. Maybe I'm sure there's some people who are like, whatever. I need some sort of intoxicant. I'm not going to drink, but I don't know. But anyway, so it's supposed to be 4 gallons of water, no alcohol, a diet, 2 workouts a day, each for 45 minutes. They have to be separated by at least 4 hours. One has to be outside. You need to take a progress picture every single day, and you need to. What was the last thing? You need to read 10 pages of like a self-help book.
Yeah. And then the part that caught me was if you fail any of those 75 days, you have to restart.
Yeah.
Even if it's the 74th day.
Yeah, you have to start on day one. So it's really, you can't fail.
Yeah.
Because that's really discouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes discipline to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Not something I have.
Oh, you do.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so Gillian, where can people follow your story? Do you share your Twitter handle?
No, I don't. I don't want to follow anyone except unless you're a crypto expert.
No, in case people want to follow you.
I don't do anything. All I do is like skulk around in the background because I don't make any comments lest I get, blocked.
Which is often, right?
Yeah, except only by safety. Really, the only place to get me these days is through my business, investinstudentrentals.com. is my website if you're interested in student rentals or partnering in student rentals. And if you're interested in taking the fundamentals of the intro to real estate investing, that's info at mothersofrealestate.com.
Just those two things?
Yeah. That's it.
Any final words you want to share with
No,
folks?
that's it. Have me back in a year and we'll figure out what I did with
all this money?
With my exits from real estate. I've got a business idea. I'll tell you about it next year.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Gillian, for doing this.
Thanks, everyone. It's really fun. It's so nice to see people. God. So nice to be out.
Thanks for making the drive in.
Thanks.